Hey guys, I have an update on the production company that I've been kind of working on for the past year, and I've kind of mentioned this in, some of the other videos that film production and making movies is pretty much my number one goal right now. And the production company is something that I've, had in my mind for really 2, 3 years, if not longer. But, it felt that it would be something really hard to do, which it is, but I think I didn't really see a pathway of doing it initially. I didn't know what to do exactly. So then when I started producing on a film and I had done a movie or two, then I was like, okay, it's not as hard as I thought it was. So then I think that kind of made it more of a reality. But then the past year I've been thinking about what that would look like, what the studio would look like, what kind of films would it be, what would be the philosophy, how would we repay investors? And I wanted to make sure it was something that was very fair to investors as well, because I've seen other companies and they do these raises and they raise money and stuff, and they don't, in my eyes, they don't always look out for the investors that well. They don't really focus on trying to pay them back always. And they also sometimes, and this is something I've noticed a lot, there's a lot of weird, sketchy accounting, and that's fairly common in the film industry, which I don't like at all. So I wanted to figure out a way to do it a little differently. And I think about a year ago, I started thinking about it, and I've been working on it. And then especially these last 4 months, I've been really typing it out like a business plan and really figuring out exactly what I want it to look like. But I really started about a year ago with getting a script because, starting a film company, any film, the number one thing you need is a good story, a good script. So that was step one. And I've talked about this in some of the other videos as well on how to do that. So if you haven't checked those out, definitely check those out to kind of see how you can go about either writing a good script, or if you're not a writer, like I'm not really a writer, then you can find a script, and I go over that in one of the other videos. But when we started, I was basically reading a ton of scripts on Blacklist. And, there's a lot on there and there's a lot of good scripts, but it also had to make sense and it had to be something that I'm passionate about and a story that I love. And, it took a while. I read a ton of scripts and then eventually came across a script that I really loved, that I think the story was incredible, the characters were really well written, dialogue was great. It was just something I was really excited about. So we started working on that and kind of seeing like, okay, what would we want to do with it? How would we go about it? And once we figured that out, we met up with the writer and pretty much optioned it for 2 years. It gives us a lot of time to get it made. So once we optioned it, which was about less than a year ago, maybe it was 8 months ago, then we basically started developing it. And that was giving notes and some of the things that we thought maybe could be slightly better. And these were minor notes because obviously we loved the script. But we developed it and then we moved on to attachments. And that was the thing that definitely took the longest. So it was a lot harder than expected, just like getting a director attached, getting an actor attached, all that. Because if you have only a script, it's really hard to get anything moving, because there's tons of people with a script. But eventually, through a lot of outreach, we attached a director, a named director that has worked a lot, has a lot of experience. So that was a huge step for us in this process. And then from there, we've gone to actors now. And that, again, a little bit harder than I expected. Like I feel like that's how most things go. If you're an entrepreneur, when you're starting something, you think sometimes, or at least I do, you sometimes think things are going to go a little easier than they end up going. And that wasn't the case with this. Everything took a lot longer than I was expecting. So we went out to actors, and we ran into some problems with that in terms of sometimes their reps didn't even want to look at it or send it to the actor because they didn't have full financing yet, which we kind of needed the actor name to help get the full financing. So it was one of those things where it's like, I get what they're saying, but at the same time, it's like, we need a name to get full financing. So, but we just kept plugging away and then, made progress there. And then especially this past week, we made a lot of progress. And I'm going to hopefully have a signed update or signed contract in about a week that I can share some great news. And if we get him attached, who's the second lead, then we're really moving forward a lot faster then, because then we have most of our package done to go to distributors, and we would go to distributors for pre-sales, which I've at this point know so many distributors from selling 2 movies. So which is great because we're not going to do the sales agent route. And if you're an indie filmmaker, I highly recommend learning about that, learning distribution, learning how to pitch to distributors, because you're giving up a large percentage to sales agents. So if you're giving up to sales agents, that might be 15, 20, whatever percent it is, and then you're giving up to distributors as well, 25, 30. So I've heard of 35. That's to me obscene, but whatever. So in total, a lot of filmmakers are giving half their movie away, and I don't want to do that. Because again, one of the goals is paying back investors. So we need to make sure that we keep what we have to give away or have to pay is as little as possible. So we're only going to go to distributors, which will end up being probably 25%. So 75% of revenue should be going to us. So that's really important to me. So I'm going to go to distributors myself and kind of see where we can get pre-sales. Ideally, we would just get foreign pre-sales in a couple of countries. I would leave America open just because you want to see how well the movie does, because if the movie does well, you can sell for much more than you would in pre-sales, for example. So that's the plan right now with that part. But then, I'll see financing is the next big step. And that's just part of the financing. The next other step I'm already doing, have been doing, but obviously haven't gone full tilt into it yet because we're still working on the attachments. But I feel pretty confident that will be done with that in the next week or so. So then I'll be able to go full tilt into financing, and that's where I want to spend pretty much all my time for these next 3 months raising the money, and I hope to have it raised by May basically. And obviously the pre-sales is one aspect of it. We're also doing tax credits in Georgia where we would be filming, which is 30%, and also private equity where I'll be reaching out to on LinkedIn, email. I already have a meeting tomorrow. So this is just another thing that we're doing. And then as well, there's 2 countries that'll be applying for grants, and these are countries that give grants that are a lot higher than America. There was a filmmaker that got like 400,000 for one of these grants. So that's another thing. And so I'm kind of spreading it out and moving in all the directions, and also obviously reaching out to some production companies to see if, the ones that can finance and partner. I'm open to that if we're aligned. So I'm basically going into pretty much these 4 different avenues to really get the financing done, since that is the hardest part, I think. I mean, look, attaching was hard, but I think financing, like any filmmaker, is the number one thing of making it a reality. So all my energy will be going there. So definitely, I'll be keeping you guys updated on how everything's going, kind of when we make progress, or even things that don't go well, because I feel like there hasn't been a ton of videos on making a film from start to finish with updates on the way there. Most people make a video when they've done the thing, or they can share a huge success and then kind of talk about their whole process. But I kind of want to do it where you're watching this step by step to get to the goal that I want to get to, which is create a super high level indie film studio, kind of like an A24, and that's my dream. And so that's what I kind of want to document from the start. So please follow along, and if you guys have any questions, I'm also someone that's super happy to share anything that I learn, any mistakes that I make, or what I would do differently, because I think filmmakers should obviously help each other, and that's what I want to do as well. So thanks. I'll keep you guys updated, and I'll see you guys next week.